March 25th, and we are live on WagerTalk TV. This is Puck Time. We have 3 games to break down: prop sides, totals, team totals, best bets at the end. And shout out to all of you guys that commented yesterday and hit that like button. We appreciate it. The engagement was really good yesterday. It seems like a lot of you guys had some big winners as well. You know, Carmine, was a Monday slate that, wasn't really pegged to have all kinds of action with many superstars in play. But man, first 2 games going to overtime, going to shootout. You got to love that as far as some Monday night hockey. But we also have some great games to talk about today here on a Tuesday. And we've got some picks here for the viewers. But how are you, man? How was your night and your thoughts overall on the Monday night slate?
The Monday day slate was good. I told you before the show. I woke up and probably choosing violence today. Last night's games in the NHL. I start off with World Cup qualifying, sweep the board in that, and then I have like 3 plays on the night card, a couple of small 2% plays, but um, you and I were on the different sides of the Detroit game, which is why you didn't message me back, apparently. As I was venting, after 2 periods of play, Detroit has 5 total shots on goal after 2 periods of play, and they're up 2-1 in the game. I looked at the analytics this morning when updating power ratings, and I'm like, Detroit scored 5 goals in that game. I get it, empty netters, but their XG, Andrew, in that game, their XG was 1.46 for the Detroit Red Wings, 1.72 in all situations, and I'm on the wrong end of that one. And then the Islanders won. I'm watching the Islanders game, and this team, can they not protect a lead? I said, they blew a 2-0 lead, then a 3-2 lead, and then goes to overtime. I knew I was pretty much toast in overtime because it is where bets go to die. But we had a good 11-1 run, and now a small losing run. We'll get it back together again and get it going. But we're going to talk Montreal, St. Louis. The worst case scenario for you yesterday, and I mentioned on the show, would be Columbus and the New York Islanders to go to OT and share points. And lo and behold, that is what happens. Blues 8-1-1, their last 10 at home. We'll see if they continue that run. The 2 best teams, points wise, you guys might have a different opinion, but as far as the standings go, the best team in the East, best team in the West, Washington and Winnipeg. So we have to discuss that one. Your props playlist, Andrew, and then we're going to finish it off with the New York Rangers in LA to take on the Kings, an East Coast, West Coast game, and then hopefully some show best bets. Brendan, if I pronounce your name correctly or incorrectly, you were the contest winner. I had to choose one of numerous guys that picked 5-1 for the 6 and 60. So send a message. I think you also put that you didn't like the Boston total. A couple of people put that one, but Brendan, you're the one who won the shirt, and I got a couple more left. I will do a couple giveaways for you guys in the live chat because you guys are always bumping and loud. With that said, Andrew, you can return my messages, even if we're on opposite ends and your side is winning. You can return my messages. I harbor no ill will when 2 guys, you have to have differing opinions or there is no market, as Teddy Covers would say. Andrew, I got one more thing. So I go to a friend's poker tournament yesterday, and there's a guy who's on his phone watching the prime game, New Jersey and Vancouver. And he's got New Jersey in regulation, and he's like 2-1. Oh no, 2-2, 3-2. We got this. Yes, I'm gonna cash a big ticket, and then 3-3. It's like, don't celebrate till the final horn goes or whatever. But this guy is celebrating at the table when New Jersey took the lead, only for Vancouver to tie it up with about 40 seconds left. There was like 4 goals in a span of like 3 minutes in that game that in the third period that completely blew that game wide open. Any thoughts for you on last night's action?
Well, I'll tell you, my
other than
main
your
thoughts are
victory on
were
the Wings?
yeah. My main thoughts were I'm getting, and this is going to sound biased, of course, because I'm mad about it because of the Canadiens, the way this works, Carm. But I mentioned it on Wager Talk today. I talked about it here on the show yesterday, but it's about time, Carm, that we just, I think in the last 20 games of the regular season, you just dedicate part of your bankroll to just sprinkling on these draws. Like, I know that Alex B. Smith, who we've done work with in the past, and plenty of guys do a really good job of it during the regular season, in all of the season. But when you're talking about March and April hockey, like, look at last night, man. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. And some people might argue that the Islanders, and I think they probably should have won late in the game. I think that call was absolutely brutal. I agree with everything that Patrick Waugh and Kyle Palmieri said about that disallowed goal. I think it should have counted. But Carm, let's be real here, man. These teams, if it's tied 3-3 with 9 minutes to go, they're going to hold hands, sing Kumbaya, and say, let's go play overtime. Let's go get 1 point each. And I know what you said yesterday about the whole 3 points for a regulation win. There were some guys in the comments that really agree with that as well. But from what I've been told by people about that is that if that was the case, there just wouldn't be as much excitement down the stretch. They want more kind of like, they want some more excitement down the stretch. They want some more kind of drama. And if that was the case, all the teams that get those regulation wins would just run away with the standings too early in the year. But, yesterday it was plus 310. And, I'm saying all this in a venting manner. I got to start betting these every time because it seems to me like tonight, the first game we're going to talk about, of course, two teams looking for playoff hockey. The draw is in play when there's 10 minutes to go in the game. And when these teams are both looking to secure a point, they're going to be playing it so safe, sitting back and relaxing that, we'll see what happens with that one. But it was a 2-1 night for me. We hit with the first period over in the Columbus game. I lost the Dallas team total. And, I always bet those team totals these days. And that's a tough one because they won 3-0. So it's like, man, I had a good read on that game. But we don't get that fourth goal. So it is what it is. Small winning night, and we'll move on to today. But you know what, Karma? These draws have to start being bet because, when you're going to get plus 300 or higher, you don't have to hit it that same clip as a minus 110, right? It's just way better. So I'm going to start betting these a lot more.
Drew, listen. First of all, the way to go on a winning night. That's the most important thing. I'm going to draw a line through my Monday. Hope to forget what went on. But to your point of that disallowed goal with 8 seconds left in that game, in the Islanders game, and this has nothing to do with the fact that I was on the Islanders. But if you look at the play in every angle that they showed, he came through the blue paint, but he was outside of the blue paint, and Elvis Merzlikins pushes him with his glove hand, and then pushes him again in order to get a better view of the puck, and then was set when the shot came through. So I think the most frustrating thing in sports, that being number one, I figured it was a good goal, and I was shocked that it wasn't. But across all sports, while we want to get the call right, and video review is a big part of it, it frustrates any fan who is a purist. Whether you're watching, and I'll start it with soccer, whether you're watching soccer and they score a goal, and you can't even celebrate because you got to wait about 45 seconds to see if VAR is going to overturn it because a guy's toenail was offside. The NHL, sometimes they get it right, sometimes they get it wrong. That could have been reviewed 3 different times and 3 different results in that one, or 2 different results in that one. I don't get it. Baseball now, with the discussion of the auto ump, it is so much. In NFL football, of course, pretty much every single play gets reviewed now. We want to get it right, but maybe have better officials. Pay these guys a full-time salary, make it their full-time job, instead of having a guy comes out, does the weekend of sports, and then is a plumber for 3 days a week. Not that there's anything wrong with being a plumber, because my brother has made a successful career out of it. But with that said, Andrew, I'm venting. let's talk Montreal Canadiens, St. Louis Blues. Minus 150 on the Blues. Montreal's plus 130. I'm going to make this quick, Andrew. You could hate this play, but Montreal could still win despite my play here. I am taking a page out of your playbook and taking the St. Louis Blues team total over 3.5 plus 110. The Blues' last 11 wins, they've had 10 games where they've scored 4 or more goals. They're 8-1-1 at home. Their last 10, playing some phenomenal hockey right now, and trending to being in the playoffs right now. I get it. Montreal's going to play them tight tonight, but the Blues just keep scoring goals, and we're not accustomed to saying the Blues and scoring goals in the same sentence. Give me the team total over 3.5 plus 110. What are your thoughts?
It's hard to argue it. Carm. The only thing that I would just say, if I was to pull the old-fashioned Teddy covers, would be, have you been riding the streak, or are you just jumping aboard the streak? If you've already been on the train, I don't blame you. If you're just getting aboard the train now, I think, at some point the regression bug's going to hit this St. Louis Blues team the same way it hit the Columbus Blue Jackets when they were doing so well for so long. And then the regression monster, as Brian Powers says, hit them a little bit. When you got a team that's won, 6 straight games in a row. They beat the Preds, the Hawks, Preds again, Canucks, Ducks, and Wild. I mean, this team went on a roll. There's no denying that. The question is, can they maintain it? Will they have that same level of urgency? I mean, also looking at some of these teams that they've defeated, non-playoff team Nashville, non-playoff team Chicago, non-playoff team Vancouver, non-playoff team Nashville, non-playoff team Ducks, playoff team Wild. So looking at the 6 victories that they have in a row, only 1 out of those 6 victories was against a playoff team, which is kind of interesting. But one thing that I'm going to gut for you, Carm, that might make you more interested as well in your play, which could benefit you. For only the second time this season, Sam Montembeault for the Canadiens will be making his 10th straight start. And this guy, Dobish, if you remember, Carm, the backup goalie for the Canadiens, he did so well when he came over and started playing from the Laval Rocket. And then now looking at this team, they're deciding to only go with one goalie. Well, people are scratching their head, the fans, the media, people are kind of questioning Marty St. Louis, wondering, why are you only going to one goalie now? I thought maybe last Thursday against the Islanders, they should have played the backup. I thought maybe on Saturday against the Avalanche, they should have played the backup. So it's kind of interesting that way. But when you look at this game overall, Carm, I'm actually on the full game under. So I think one of us is going to have a great night. I think one of us is going to be sweating. I think that you look at kind of the goals that Montreal's been scoring. It's good to see. But overall, this team, it's funny, they've been almost more defensive and kind of parking the bus mentality. I don't know how else to describe it, Carm, on the road than they have been kind of when they play at home. This Montreal team went down 4-1 against the Colorado Avalanche, managed to come back, and then ended up losing 5-4 in a shootout against Colorado, which is a great thing, to have that comeback. It's a great thing to have Colorado score 4 goals and Nathan MacKinnon to not get 1 point. But overall, I think you have 2 teams that in their own conferences are really fighting for playoff positions, are fighting for a playoff spot. And as much as we have seen that lead to certain goals, maybe empty netters in the third period, goals late, I kind of think we might see a real defensive battle in this one here. So I'm going to lock in the under 5.5, Carm. If I lose, I hope you win. And we can both be successful here, man.
I'm going to send you a box of chocolates, brother. For saying that. And I see Johnny Detroit, who's supposed to be on vacation in our live chat. He is obviously pumped by Detroit's win last night and is probably looking forward to the game against Colorado tonight, see if they can win back-to-back games.
Carm, Andrew, I think that Johnny needs me to bet on them every day. Johnny needs me to bet on the Wings. I'm 3-3. I'm 3-0. Last times 3 times I bet on the Wings, 3-0. I got to take them more for him.
Or he needs me to wear he needs me to wear the Patrick Kane jersey. They're 5-1 now this season when I wear the Patrick Kane jersey. But Andrew, that said, it's a good case to the under. You talk about Montembeault, and they're going to go with their number one goalie because they're in a playoff race right now. So I don't think you can afford to rest guys, even though you have a decent number twos. You want Montembeault in there. And then the fact that Jordan Binnington, since returning from the Four Nations, where early on there was question marks about him, but he really played fantastic, especially in that final game. 10 games he's played since returning from the Four Nations. He's allowed 3 or fewer goals in 9 games, 9 of those 10, allowing only 4 to Pittsburgh in a 5-3 loss. 6 of those 10 games, he's allowed 2 or fewer goals. Binnington's returning to the form of Binnington that the Stanley Cup era Binnington. He's looking good, and you need a goalie. They're getting their scoring, but in the games in which you don't get the scoring, in those 2-1 or 3-2 type games, you need a goalie in there. So it's a good point on you on the under. I'll take 4-1. You won't. I'll take 4-1 St. Louis, and everyone's happy after that because you get your under. I get my St. Louis team total. Montreal gets no points. I'm sorry about that one, but it's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. Speaking of cookies crumbling, it's not happening
And plus
for these two
draw.
teams. These two teams are playing some phenomenal hockey. Washington and Winnipeg. Minus 145 for Winnipeg. Washington plus 125. Andrew, it's hard. You look at this team on the season and even in segments throughout the season, and it's tough to find where these teams have gone flat, where they've gotten fat and sassy, where they've gone on prolonged losing streaks, because they just haven't. And this is why they're sitting first and second, first overall, but first and second overall amongst all teams in the NHL. 5.5 is the total here. I'm going to make it easy on this one. I'm going to go with the Jets here. No disrespect to the Washington Capitals, but Winnipeg's coming off a flat performance with Comrie in goal against the Buffalo Sabres, in which they lose 5-3. And on the season, following a home loss in their next home game, they are 7-2 this season. They seem to bounce back in a big way. So I'll lay the $1.45 here. But I will say this, Andrew, if this game steams, I just wouldn't take it at all. I wouldn't want to lay 155 or 160 with Winnipeg against any team other than I wouldn't want to lay against Washington, because this Washington team can go in, play a great defensive game, and steal a game 3-2. So that said, give me the Jets.
Yeah, I share a lot of the same opinions as you, Carm, on this one. Based on looking at the odds logic page right now, seeing that number open up 135 current price at some spots, turning into 140, 145 even. Money's slowly trickling in on this Winnipeg team. There's 2 rules you got to have. You got to bet against the Buffalo Sabres after a win, and you got to bet on the team after they lose to the Buffalo Sabres. And so that's the rule we got to follow today. And we have 2 teams in action we can follow that rule with. And of course, as you mentioned, the Winnipeg Jets are off that loss to the Buffalo Sabres. The minus 145 is probably the cutoff that I would go with. As far as the money line price, as you guys know, I'm always searching for that best value. I don't think I would look towards the team total over for Winnipeg. If you don't like the minus 145, you could potentially look towards the under 2.5 at minus 110 for the Washington Capitals. Of course, the Winnipeg Jets are one of those teams that when they bounce back and when they are playing their best hockey, they're playing defensively. They're shutting their opponent down offensively. I understand that Winnipeg has won more games by putting up goals in bunches this year than in years past, but I still believe that at their soul, at their their true identity, Carm, this team is a defensive team. So when you look for them to bounce back, you probably look for them to bounce back in a defensive way. Total is 5.5. The favorites minus 145. I think team total under 2.5 minus 110 is a good move on the Washington Capitals under there. So we're both on the same page. Hopefully get a Winnipeg whiteout tonight, and hopefully they bounce back in a big way after losing to what we always call the free space. You know, every now and then the Sabres got to get a win, Carm. And they did against a good team.
It just, why? Why do you do this to me? I fade the Sabres and they win. I take the Sabres and they lose. Maybe just not take the Sabres. But Andrew, you know, in looking at these ones, you talk about like the whiteout and team totals under. If it's Logan Thompson in goal against Hellebuck, which should be what the matchup is, these goalies right now at this point in the season are number 1 and number 2 in goals saved above expectancy. Hellebuck leads with 34.4 goals saved above expectancy and 31.5 for Logan Thompson. When you have goalies like that playing on your team, you are always in a game, especially because these teams can score if need be. But having a shutdown goalie, and that's what both these teams have this season, should bode well for them in the playoffs. Let's hope the matchups for each team at least in the first round are favorable ones. And Andrew, you have some props for us? Get us some winners. Get the live chat. It's bumping there. Johnny Detroit says you should bet on Detroit every game for the rest of the season. So he's giving you props. Give us some prop bet winners.
The only problem is, Carm, is that there's no way the Canadiens and the Red Wings can both make the playoffs. So with that, like Mark Cuban on Shark Tank says, I'm out. I am out on that proposal. I will stick with taking them every now and then when I see a good spot for them. 1-1 yesterday, Carm, with the player props on the segment. We'll try and go 2-0 here with this slate. I like these two. The ones I picked today are solely matchup based. They're matchup based props, matchup history based with these teams based on who their opponents are and who they've gone against. Just want to mention that promo code PuckPass25 is still available, guys. 25% off my full NHL season leading up to the playoffs, leading up to my playoff round-by-round picks, props throughout the playoffs, everything I do in the playoffs as well. You guys will get 25% off PuckPass25. And as of last night, we are the number 1 NHL handicapper as dating back to the preseason. So super excited about that. It's been a really good back and forth battle here at WagerTalk.com. Hopefully we can keep things going. But the first prop I'm going to look at is Anthony Cirelli from the Tampa Bay Lightning. They had a tough go the past few games, this Tampa Bay Lightning team. And I don't know if they're going to beat Pittsburgh tonight because Pitt's playing pretty well. But I do like this over 1.5 shots prop. I always mention how I've been liking these 1.5 numbers lately. And this is only a minus 120, 125 price. Shop around for the best number. But Cirelli's gone over 1.5 shots on goal 4 straight games against the Pittsburgh Penguins. I think the depth will be the biggest issue for the Pittsburgh Penguins to deal with. And that's exactly what we have here with Tampa, is a pretty deep team. So over 1.5 shots on goal for Anthony Cirelli is a play for us tonight. And the next one is going to be Jared McCann with a point tonight against Calgary. You know, Calgary, I think, should be feeling kind of fat and sassy right now. Coming back after a road trip, feeling good about themselves, winning games, winning in strong fashion, trying to make that playoff push. And you got a Seattle team that life just has not been good for them recently. They've been getting blown out of the water, not even coming close to certain games. I think you kind of have the more motivated team here in this one with Seattle. And with that being said, I like this minus 105 price on a guy that's got a point in 5 straight meetings against Calgary. He'll be very motivated, and I think he's a big player on this Kraken team. So just 2 props, Carm, but 2 that I like quite a bit here on this slate.
Right. I'm liking it, Andrew. Hopefully we can cash some tickets and make some money off of these ones. Speaking of making money, I'm not sure how we're going to make any money out of this last game, but I had to put it on the card because it's an important one. The LA Kings and the New York Rangers, another East team trying to make the playoffs. I can't believe the season the New York Rangers have had. Maybe I can believe it. They just haven't come together all season long. Great start to the season, and then a little bit of a recovery. But for the most part, I think any Rangers fan will tell you this season has been an extreme disappointment for them. Plus 140 tonight, minus 165 on the Kings. Can you find it, Andrew, in your non-biased heart to take the New York Rangers tonight?
Well, Carm, you know what? I backed the Red Wings last night. Isn't that kind of biased or non-biased? I mean, they're competing for a playoff spot
This
as
is true.
well. A little bit. It's a little bit like that. But I mean, this is the thing is that the Rangers didn't win any games that were winnable. Like, that's the problem when you look at some of these games that they needed to win, over their last couple games. I mean, sure, it's been kind of a tough schedule for them a little bit, but they needed to find a way to win some against some of the tougher teams that they had, and they just weren't able to do it. And when I look at the Rangers and I see, the 1-goal loss against the Maple Leafs, when I see them lose to the Flames and lose to some of these teams, it's like you need to win against the good teams. You can't just win against the bad teams. So right now, Carm, yeah, this price has kind of gotten out of hand. The opener, it's gone up about 10 or 15 cents from the opener, but I can't see them winning against a top elite team right now. It's just they're not showing up. They're not showing up right now and playing their brand of hockey. What I'm going to look for, though, is Igor Shesterkin to stand on his head. I'm going to look for under boring hockey because that's what the Rangers have to do. When I look at some of the games they've played in recently, 2-1, 3-1, 4-0, 3-2, they've been trying to play defensively. And the games that they're kind of up, in and kind of at least a part of more are the defensive games, because the games that they're more high scoring, their opponents seem to walk all over them. So I'm going to go with the under 5.5, Carm. I truly don't have it in me to back the Rangers. I get it's a big plus price. It's intriguing, but whether it's been Toronto or whether it's been another good team, they just don't seem to be able to beat the good teams lately. And I don't trust teams that are only good against bad teams. So I'll take the under 5.5 here and hope for a defensive battle.
I don't blame you, Andrew. I'm stealing another page out of your notebook and taking a team total. I'm going to take the Rangers team total under 2.5. I think it's at minus 120 right now at DK. It's a similar thing. Obviously, if they win this game, they're going to go over that team total. But the Kings are playing so well right now, and they're doing a very good job of shutting teams down as well too. They're scoring goals when they need to, obviously, but at home they've been phenomenal. It's going to be interesting come playoff time if the LA Kings draw the Edmonton Oilers for a fourth straight year in the playoffs. It is a shame because I'd like to see those two teams meet at some other point in the playoffs, but it's the way the NHL has set up their playoff schedule that we could see that happen again. Kings low scoring win for me tonight. I just don't want to lay the buck 65 just because the Rangers are a desperate team in need of any points at the moment right now. So I'm going to take the team total under 2.5 here and hope for one of those 3-2 LA King games, 2-1, 1-1 going to OT. Can't lose that. Thoughts, Andrew?
I like it. I like it.
I've switched over to your team. I've switched over to your team totals. You know what I mean? If they say if it ain't broke, fix it. It's a little broke right now with a very short losing streak on the heels of a very good 11-1 NHL run. So it is the roller coaster that we call the NHL season. 82 game season will take its toll on everybody. I think back to to the beginning of the season. I looked about 30 years old. Now I look about 70. So that is what an NHL season will do to you.
And let's not forget,
Andrew,
Carm, 4 rounds in the playoffs.
What's
4 rounds?
What's that?
4 rounds in the playoffs. A lot of hockey left. A lot of hockey left too. We got 10, 15 games
and
left.
I'm starting a new feature, Andrew. This will start right at the beginning of the NHL playoffs. It is called The Road to Riches. Could be The Road to Rags or Riches, but choose to go with the riches. Andrew, you're too young to remember Laverne and Shirley, but the guy on there, Carmine Ragusa, used to sing a song, "You'll never go from rags to riches." Well, we're going to try and make that happen and go from rags to riches with a 14-day segment during the playoffs where I'll have a play. It's almost like a ladder challenge, but it'll be a bankroll. So one play will not go bust, will not make the challenge go bust. And we'll see what we do over 14 days with the Rags to Riches segment on the show. Andrew, what do you got up at Wager Talk? And give us a show best bet.
Yeah, Carm would be remiss not to mention it enough times that it's $5 Tuesday at Wager Talk, and every handicapper, one play available for just $5, and I do have a play going into the NHL, but might be more to come, and there might actually be a bigger play coming. Just waiting for some goaltender confirmation. So you guys keep an eye on my X page, and I'll kind of tweet it out and let people know kind of what I have going for the remainder of the day. But that promo code I mentioned, Carm, is a real good one. Last night, it was a winning night, and we've had a handful of winning weeks in a row now. Just chipping away, low volume, night by night, week by week, cashing in, and we're currently top 6 at Wager Talk in 2025, all sports. So really getting the job done. If you guys want to join me in the NHL, Puck Pass 25% off in the NHL. That's for the remainder of the season. Sides, totals, props, team totals, then futures, and of course, round by round, all of my bets. So guys, join me with that. Forget about 3-day passes. Forget about buying 5% play. Join me for the remainder of the season with Puck Pass 25. And I'm looking forward to a good night here, Karin, but my free play is going to be the over 1.5 goals. We got to throw in at least one first period over in this show here. And it's going to be the over 1.5 goals in the Philly and Toronto game. Looking for goals early on after just an absolute disaster of a game for Toronto after they played against Nashville over the weekend. I heard there were a bunch of F-bombs getting dropped at practice yesterday. That Coach Berube was going crazy at his guys for not being focused in that game against Nashville. I look for a bounce back out of them. And Philadelphia, they just got slapped around by Chicago, of all teams, in their last game. I think they're going to be laser focused as well. But unfortunately for the defense, I think both teams being focused means goals, especially early on. And in a world where we're betting all kinds of minus 125s, 30s, 40s, first period overs, I got to love that my first period over today is only minus 115. So we'll take that for the free play of the day, and I'll throw it back to you.
Andrew, before I get into mine, something I wanted to discuss. Every once in a while, we'll get a comment in the comment section after the video is posted of, you guys aren't discussing the Bruins, no respect for the Bruins, shaking my head, the Bruins aren't on. It's always like the same one or two fans, and I get it, but they're not really in a playoff race right now. But I want to talk to you about like this past weekend with the Bruins and the whole Swayman thing, where he tried to get into a fight, Swayman, when there was a brawl. And there's not one, not two, but numerous players on the Boston Bruins are talking about how the dressing room is a complete disaster. There's so much dissent and stuff going on there. And if you remember a while back, it was there was someone saying that Pasternak didn't want to play with Marchand, and Marchand was like, "Listen, we're the best of friends." Whoever said that is pulling your leg. But it makes you wonder if there was a little truth to that. Marchand and Pasternak won. When a team is losing and you don't expect to lose, when a team is not in the playoffs and you expect to be in the playoffs, there's going to be a lot of pissed off people in that dressing room. Like, any thoughts on what is happening with the Bruins? Like, would you just blindly fade them the rest of the way?
Well, I just think that teams need to either be tanking or a good team. And the problem is when you're where the Bruins are, like you're here, or you're in the middle. And the problem is the Bruins with trading away a couple of guys, but then keeping Pasternak and having a guy like Swayman locked up for 8 times 8.5. they're kind of going to be that mid-level team. And you know who they remind me of right now in the Eastern Conference, Carm? The Pittsburgh Penguins. That's who they are right now. And that's the problem, is that if you're not a team getting a top 5 draft pick and you aren't a team in the playoffs, well, then who the hell are you? What are you as a team? Because if you aren't fighting for the playoffs and you aren't fighting for a top 5 pick, you're just treading water. And so they screwed themselves by waiting too long to get the Swayman deal. They screwed themselves by trading Allmark before they signed Swayman. I think they screwed themselves by waiting too long to trade away all their assets at the deadline. And now things are going crazy. I mean, I don't blame what Zadorov said. He's like, I don't care about Swayman trying to fight. He pretty much said this locker room's a disaster. He said, Carm, no comment. Is that what he was trying to do, is stick up for us? No comment.
Yeah.
So look, as a Canadiens fan, it makes my heart warm seeing the Bruins not be good for once. So hopefully it's a change of guard.
Listen, Boston's had it so good for so long, whether it's Bruins with competitive teams, the New England Patriots with Super Bowl rings. This is, the Boston Red Sox. So, to have to suffer through a few years, come on, you guys can do it. Those fan bases, try and be a fan of a Buffalo team. All right, try and be a fan of a Buffalo team and see how it feels. Not to want to jump in front of a bus every single day, but no, it's not that bad, Andrew. I shouldn't say that. But you mentioned the Pittsburgh Penguins, which brings me to an interesting thing here, guys. Okay, so 2 plays up today in World Cup soccer. We won both World Cup qualifying. We won both yesterday afternoon. And one big play and a couple of small client plays up for clients in the NHL tonight as part of $5. You'll get the big play as part of $5 Customer Appreciation Day at WagerTalk, where all cappers have plays up for $5. They could be plays that are going today, or there could be plays that are going later on in the week. But those the ones that go on later in the week will come down at midnight. So you only have till midnight to pick those ones up for only $5. Now, the free play. This one's going to probably blow your minds a little bit. I'm taking the Pittsburgh Penguins plus 225 tonight in Tampa Bay. You got Tampa Bay coming back home from a West Coast trip in which they lost the last 2 games. They've gone 5-5 the last 10 after a phenomenal run. And Pittsburgh, a team that is out of a playoff spot. They might be thinking they've got a shot to make the playoffs, but with 10 games left, they probably have to go 8-2 to be in the mix. But they're 5-1-1 their last 7 games. And this team is at least playing some inspired hockey. The first half of the Florida double, they took Florida 2 overtime and then lose that one in OT to Florida. But they are playing some inspired hockey right now. And kind of like last year, if you remember last year, at the trade deadline, they got rid of Jake Gunsel, and everyone thought, including myself, that's it. The Pittsburgh Penguins are done. And yet they went on a winning streak, the next man up mentality, and finished a point back of making the playoffs. Maybe they're trying to do the same thing. But at 225, Andrew, it's a little too juicy for me to pass up. I'm going to take the Pittsburgh Penguins plus 225 tonight in Tampa Bay to score the upset. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's been this is the thing I'll say, Carmen. You told me you want me to be truthful when I'm responding to your plays. I think a good team, we talk about off a road trip, I'd want to fade them more if they were off a successful road trip. Hasn't really been a good one for them, that's for sure. But this team is going to be a little more focused, I think, playing kind of the more best of the best teams than playing the Pittsburgh Penguins. And I think that's what we're seeing right now. Teams are taking the Penguins lightly, Carm. They're not taking them seriously. And you're getting a fat plus price on them. I don't blame you, because right now, like you said, the teams are walking in and saying, it's the Penguins. Who cares? Did you know, and yes, I'm a diehard fan of this guy, as of yesterday or 2 days ago, Sidney Crosby has the most 5-on-5 points in the whole league. Look at where the Pittsburgh Penguins are on the standings, and he has the most 5-on-5 points out of McKinnon, McDavid, all these guys. It's pretty impressive, honestly.
Yeah, Sidney Crosby also tied with Wayne Gretzky, 19 seasons where he has averaged 1+ points per game throughout the season, and he's doing that again this season. So he could stand alone as the only player with 20 seasons where he's averaged at least a point per game. Sid the Kid, he might not be a kid, but Sid is still magical, Andrew. So there's nothing wrong with being a Sid fan, especially here in north of the border. Anyways, guys, we'll be back tomorrow. Don Buster, who normally comes in on Tuesdays while the Prez is away. He'll be on Wednesday's show. We always look forward to having him. He'll probably want to discuss the Montreal St. Louis game from tonight. But I digress. We'll see what Buster has up for tomorrow. We appreciate you guys commenting throughout the live video and in the comment section below. Hit that subscribe button. Remember, it's $5 Customer Appreciation Day at WagerTalk. Numerous plays across the site for only $5. These are plays that normally sell for $25 and $35. We appreciate you pucksters always coming and bumping that chat up and hitting that like button. For myself, Andrew McInnes, and Dan, our producer, this is Puck Time. We'll see you on Wednesday.